here. Okay, so beautiful verses. I just couldn't resist getting visual with these verses. O best among the Kurus, the clouds which carry water, are the hairs on his head. The terminations of days or nights are his dress, and the supreme cause of material creation is his intelligence. His mind is the moon, the reservoir of all changes. The principle of matter, mahat-tattva, is the consciousness of the omnipresent Lord, as asserted by the experts. And Rudradeva is his ego. The horse, mule, camel, and elephant are his nails, and wild animals and all quadrupeds are situated in the belt zone of the Lord. Varieties of birds are indications of his masterful artistic sense. Manu, the father of mankind, is the emblem of his standard intelligence, and humanity is his residence. The celestial species of human beings, like the Gandharvas, Vidyādharas, Cāraṇas, and angels, all represent his musical rhythm, and the demoniac soldiers are representations of his wonderful prowess. So, all these beautiful descriptions are meant for us to link up with Krishna. That's what all the rules and regulations, everything we do is meant to remember Krishna and never forget him. And yoga means to withdraw the mind and to link it up. So generally the jivas in this world, they're absorbing their senses and material objects with an object of enjoying those objects. We, on the other hand, as devotees, we're trying to cultivate God consciousness. So wherever we look, we should see Krishna. Krishna is everywhere. So to be reminded of Krishna is a great benediction. And that means, and Prabhupada says, we should mold our lives in such a way that we will always be thinking of Krishna. So in this section of Bhagavatam, the Virat Rupa, there's similar things to what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita in the 7th and 10th chapter, and of I am the taste of water. I heard Prabhupada the other day say, when you're really, really thirsty, that's the taste. I mean, there's nothing really replaces water, not Gatorade, not diet soda, There's something special about water. And Krishna is the fragrance of the earth. And he's not said the flowers are his smile. But it's not like Krishna is this kind of earthy smell. You get this handful of dirt and you smell it. No, it's the flowers that have extracted these fragrances from the earth. Jasmine, patchouli, rose, lotus. These are the fragrances of the earth, and by some mystic potency, Krishna has arranged for those fragrances to go up the stems of flowers so that we can appreciate them. So we are so fortunate that we've been given by our teachers this process where we're going to link everything up with Krishna. So these 3 verses, they mention some of these things. Mountains in the Himalayas, that's in the Bhagavad Gita, but in this first image, clouds which carry water are the hairs on his head. Now I couldn't find possibly the most ideal image, but anyway, this gives some representation. Rain clouds, and it's almost like there's a face that's missing in the middle of it all in its hair. Of terminations of days or nights are his dress. This is actually a sunrise over Hilo Bay. And the colors are the dress of Krishna. He's wearing all these colors. Actually, Vedic colors are pastel colors. And this is a sunset coincide that just turned everything orange one day. And this is another sunset over in Coincide. But sunsets are not restricted to Hawaii, although it's a beautiful place, no doubt. Just gorgeous sunsets everywhere. Sunrises, sunsets, and the sky just fills with color. And those colors are the dress of Krishna. The supreme cause of the material creation is his intelligence. A few classes ago, I mentioned now the scientists. The Milky Way was thought to be the universe up until the 20th century. They couldn't understand that there was something beyond it. Then this little cloud they were calling M32, finally, in the 1920s, somebody figured out a way to measure the distance of that little cloud, and it was like some astronomical, 1,500,000,000 light years away or something. And that turns out that became named the Andromeda Galaxy. So now there's two galaxies. And recently, in the late 90s, the Hubble telescope focused on a dark patch of the sky, and now they are realizing that there are billions. They say over 100 billion galaxies. I mean, that's mind-boggling. So that's the current scientific point of view, and of course, all this organized Om Purnami Dum, all the complete holes, within complete holes within complete holes. It's just amazing, the intelligence behind the creation. His mind is the moon, the reservoir of all changes. Of course, we know there's phases of the moon, and there's times for planting, and there's times for harvesting, and there's times when the full moon is creating, it controls the tides. Actually, the moon is the second most influential planet outside of the sun. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it gives taste of vegetables. We know it controls the tides of the ocean. And in this particular, when the moon is waning, at the end, the crescent, this is what Radharani, when she sees this in the sky, it's on the far right side. She's saying, somebody told her once, that's the eye of Radharani, which is a sweet kind of link to something spiritual. So the moon not only controls the oceans and the tides, but it controls the water in our bodies. And it has a tremendous psychological influence. So it's very interesting. The mind of Krishna is the moon, the reservoir of all changes. And criminologists, they know that during the full moon, the crime goes up. They have a lot of more work to do. They have to stop a lot more craziness during the full moons. And there's the harvest moon. Those that are romantically involved, they look at the moon and they have some sentiment. It can be seen in different ways, and experienced in different ways. The principle of matter, mahat-tattva, is the consciousness of the omnipresent Lord as asserted by the experts. So we know Krishna is within the atom, he's between the atoms, he's within the heart of every living being. So he's omnipresent. And he's entered into the mahat-tattva so mercifully he's expanded himself in a personal form as super soul to guide the jivas when they're ready back to him. So an incredible feature of the Lord Paramatma. And Rudradeva is his ego. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee. One of his names is Mahadev, but he's presiding over Tamagund, and he has his function, and he represents the ego of Krishna. The horse, mule, camel, and elephants are his nails. So it occurred to me that all of these animals mentioned, they have hooves, hard cartilage on their feet. So it's kind of interesting. So the horse at the top with his hooves, the camel with his toes, and the elephant at the bottom with his nails. And wild animals and all quadrupeds are situated in the belt zone of the Lord. So we can't even represent that. 8,400,000 species, so we're just kind of throwing a few out there. Okay, we missed something here. Okay. The varieties of birds are indications of his masterful artistic sense. Now, I could have gone wild with this. I could spend the next hour showing you pictures of birds. We're losing species every day on this planet due to the pollution, but of course the most famous of the birds that appears in Krishna Lila is the peacock. Even Krishna wears a peacock feather in his hair. Something special about that bird, and something very artistic going on here. And the peahens, they're not too shabby either, Look at the beauty of that peahen on the right-hand side. And, we've seen toucans and macaws and cockatoos, some birds we're familiar with because people make a business out of selling them. But I'm going to show you some birds you've never seen before. And look at the attention to detail. Just look at the different kinds of feathers and the incredible complexity and the beauty of these birds. And we're just touching, just a fraction of, and some of them go neon. I've only seen neon once in nature, and that was off the eastern coast of Oahu, and the water was green, like a light turquoise, but almost green, and sunlight was reflecting off the surface, and it was actually going neon. And but this bird is neon, and this one looks like he's on his way to neon. And here's another parrot. These are from a bird park in Singapore. I found them on one page, and if I ever go to Singapore, I'm going to try to go to this place. Amazing collection of birds. But Jiva Goswami also said that Vrindavan was like a bird sanctuary. So these are northern climate birds. They look a little different. And here's they call this the lesser bird of paradise. And on the left, this is a courtship ritual where they pump their feathers up to attract each other. But, I mean, people paint pictures that are two-dimensional, trying to capture some of the beauty of this world. But Krishna, he's doing it in 3 dimensions, and it's in motion. It's, you know, it's just mind-boggling. Manu, the father of mankind, is the emblem of his standard intelligence. I just found some Sanskrit online to represent the book of Manu, is the law book of mankind, and it's the emblem of Krishna's standard intelligence. And humanity is his residence. Of course, this is one of his residences. It's Jagannath Puri temple, 2,000 years old, and they have this festival every year. Millions of people come. It's the largest religious festival in the world. Just a mass of humanity comes for this. It's standing room only on a road that's a couple of 100 yards wide, and it goes on for like a mile or 2 down to the Gandicha temple. The celestial species of human beings, like the Gandharvas, Vidyādharas, Cāraṇas, and angels, all represent his musical rhythm. So there's a Indian dancer that's dramatizing what it must, you know, some celestial kind of Gandharva, or, you know, he's kind of showing some image. And on the right-hand side, these are apsaras that are in relief in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, civilization that went on for 600 years. That's as long as the Roman Empire. And in the middle of these temples that were built by a succession of kings is the largest, tallest temple in the world, and it's a temple to Vishnu. But these are apsaras, so they're heavenly damsels. This is the temple of the Emerald Buddha. I'm going to read the text. The celestial species of human beings, like these are Cāraṇas, and they're half bird, half human. And it's interesting, Thailand has more demigods represented than India does, and it's mind-boggling, you know. But I remember going through there. I took a few pictures, but I found these online. But just very interesting, half human, half bird. That's a Cāraṇa. And of course the demonic soldiers are the representations of his wonderful prowess. And we know Ravana, he was powerful. Hiranyakashipu conquered the demigods. Even Bali, Maharaj overran the heavenly planets. They don't all look like this. It's just a picture. This is, again, at the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, and it's just some sort of representation of the demon. And now we're getting into the purport. The aesthetic sense, Om Gyantaramandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umalitamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my most humble and respectful obeisances to him. So Prabhupada's purport: the aesthetic sense of the Lord is manifested in the artistic, colorful creation of varieties of birds like the peacock, parrot, and cuckoo. So, you know, anybody that's been to Vrindavan, they also make this sound. It's wow. You know, they have a call, beautiful sound, and they, just seeing the peacocks reminds you of Krishna. And then these parrots, these green parrots, they're in Vrindavan, and they're also all over Rajasthan, and I've seen flocks of these green parrots migrating, and it's just a sight to behold. It's just amazing to see the sky just filled with green parrots flying. And like I said before, Jiva Goswami appreciated the birds in Vrindavan. And there is an official bird sanctuary nearby called Bharatpur. And these guys, bird watchers from all over the world, fly into this place just to see the birds. And there's different kinds of cuckoo. Yeah, he looks a little cuckoo, the one on the right. Anyway, he's one variety. There's like 3 or 4. They're not all as dramatic as him, but I just picked him because he kind of looked exotic. The celestial species of human beings like the Gandharvas and Vidyādharas can sing wonderfully and can entice even the minds of the heavenly demigods. Their musical rhythm represents the musical sense of the Lord. So we've all appreciated music in our lives. Some Indian music is some of the most refined music on the planet. Ravi Shankar even caught the attention of a Western audience. And everything's coming from Krishna. So Krishna, he's playing the flute. He's guiding everybody in Vrindavan with that flute. He's letting the Jasoda know that he's coming back with the calves, with the flute. He calls the cowherd boys at the flute, and even in the middle of the night, he's calling the gopis with the flute. So, and it's in the flute. Sometimes he plays it in such a way that he stuns the cows. Everybody just gets stunned. They become like statues. And so all music comes from Krishna, and the demigods are certainly gifted in that area. And so we just get a glimpse of the people here that become very expert. They're, you know, it's just almost a glimpse of like what it must be in the heavenly planets when you hear these beautiful natural kinds of instruments. So then Prabhupada continues, how then can he be impersonal? His musical taste, artistic sense, and standard intelligence, which is never fallible, are different signs of his supreme personality. So, yeah, the person that created, or the source of all fragrance, has no ability to appreciate fragrances, or the person that created all this beauty has no sense to appreciate beauty. It doesn't even make sense. And his artistic sense is everywhere. I mean, it's just a constant changing, beautiful landscape. Nothing stays the same. Even deserts have their beauty. Oceans, what to speak of mountains and forests. It's just beautiful. And it's got the fingerprints of Krishna. It's all coming from Krishna. So I remember Prabhupada said once, he said, if you see the son of a person and he resembles his father, then you're reminded of the father. So we have to find a way to recognize Krishna in everything. And also, when you see the shoes of a child, you're reminded of the child. So, you know, this attraction, this remembrance, you know, should come, you know, with a grateful heart. You know, we're just looking around, and everything has been given to us here by Krishna, and not to trip us up. That's our own nonsense. It's meant to bring us back home, back to Godhead, if we can just perceive it correctly. The Manu Samhita is the standard law book for humanity, And every human being is advised to follow this great book of social knowledge. There's contracts for selling property or for, there's even legal documents in the book of Manu for business and different kinds of transactions. What to speak of, laws for marriage and social order. Human society is a residential quarters for the Lord, and that's civilized human society. Everybody should have the Lord within their homes. Make a small altar where make their homes a temple where they can thank the Lord every day for giving them the opportunity to come to Him. Oops. I'm missing something here. So I'm going to have to go to another computer here. Okay, I don't have a visual for this, so I'm just going to read it. So the human society is the residential quarters for the Lord. This means that the human being is meant for God realization and association with God. This life is a chance for the conditioned soul to regain his eternal God consciousness and thus fulfill the mission of life. Prahlad Maharaj is the right type of representative of the Lord in the family of Asuras. So we have, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, they're devotees, Mahajans, and they are Daityas. They're in the, so Krishna is represented everywhere, even in the Daitya section, in the demon section. Then Prabhupada says, none of the living beings is away from their Lord's gigantic body. Each and every one has a particular duty in relation to the supreme body. And now, disruption in the matter of discharging the specific duty assigned to each and every living being is the cause of disharmony between one living being and another. But when the relation is established in relation with the Supreme Lord, there is complete unity between all living beings, even up to the limit of the wild animals and human society. So, this is really a powerful part of this purport. So none of the living beings are away from the Lord's gigantic body. Everyone's included. Everyone's part of this. And each and every one has a particular duty in relation to the Supreme Body. So everyone has some relationship, unique relationship with the Lord, has something to do in the big picture. And they're and in the human form of life, we're meant to find out what that is. And then Prabhupada says very powerfully, disruption in the matter of discharging the specific duty assigned to each and every living being is the cause of disharmony between one living being and another. So this is the argument for Varnashram, where society is organized into the four Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras. They all have their prescribed duties. They all have their, they need to perform their specific duties that they are assigned for the smooth running of society. And if they do not do that, if they deviate from that, then it's going to cause disharmony. It's going to cause social disorder. So when the relation is established or reestablished in relationship with the Lord, with the Supreme Lord, There is complete unity of all living beings. So if the Lord is the center of everyone's life, and we're all serving the same purpose, that is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, then there's complete unity. That's when there's complete unity. And I would even say, there's missions and institutions that are, at odds. And there's something deficient here. We're not getting to the root of where, to the place that we should be, that we can appreciate that someone else is trying to serve the Lord, and that the Lord's within the heart of that other person. And although we may have differences, it doesn't, in the end, and this is how the spiritual world works. Everyone, they may be conflicted. Jasoda, she may not appreciate that Krishna's, going out at night. He's a young child. She doesn't want him doing that. But the gopis, they want him to do that. So there's conflicts even in the spiritual world. Even there's competition in the spiritual world, but it get mean-spirited, or it doesn't get to everyone's serving Krishna, and that service is so strong that all the rest of it doesn't really matter so much. So then Prabhupada's not only including the human section, he's including up to the limit of wild animals. Everything will be in harmony if we reestablish the Supreme Lord as the goal of life, as the ultimate root of water. That's the root we water. If we're watering that root, if we're serving Krishna, everything else, everyone else is taken care of, including the wild animals. So then Prabhupada ends the purport by saying, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this living unity in the jungle of Madhya Pradesh, where even the tigers, elephants, and many other ferocious animals perfectly cooperated in glorifying the Supreme Lord. And I wish I had a painting of that to show you, but I ran out of time. But, that is a wonderful pastime, and the chanting of the holy name was extended even to the animal section in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. And so that's the point Prabhupada's making, is that the super soul's also within the hearts of the animals, and somebody is powerful. Of course, he's the Supreme Lord, who's also the super soul in the hearts of those animals. He brought that out. It's like there's an expression, you bring out the best in people, right? Or some ex-husband and some lady said, we brought out the worst in each other, But we're looking to bring out the best in each other. We're looking for the good in each other. And in that way, I love Vaishesika's mission statement: fan the spark. Fan the spark. If there's a spark in there, see if you can get it to light up. Because that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to fan that spark so that that taste that we get from serving Krishna just will take over our lives. That's what we want. And Prabhupada ends the purport beautifully. That is the way of peace and amity all over the world. So everyone's looking for peace. Everyone's looking for happiness. And this is the way. You make Krishna the center of your life. And if Prabhupada said 1% of the population of this planet became devotees, serious, sincere devotees, there would be peace in the world. Of course, 1% I mean, it may be in the, now we have the 99% that are becoming poor and the 1% that are becoming unimaginably wealthy. And so the 1%, 1% is got a lot of power right now. So if we got 1%, Prabhupada said 10% at another time, but if we got 1% of this world to become serious devotees, there would be peace all over the world. So there's one last picture. Let's see if I can find it. I was going to end with this one. I just found it online. So wherever we look, we're looking for Krishna. That's the bottom line here. And so, for me, the mountains being the piles of his bones really doesn't do much for me. But some of these other things, the artistry of Krishna is in the birds. You can just, that happens to us. We see, we have birds in Hawaii that are pretty beautiful. So, and they just come and they land nearby on a tree or something, and you're just reminded of Krishna. The artistry of Krishna. When you see a flower, you're reminded this is his smile. Or when you see, anything beautiful or anything majestic, you're just reminded this is incredible. This is Krishna. So that's what I have for today. I hope. The last. I don't have the verse, the Sanskrit for it, but I'm sure Nahari knows this verse by heart. But one who sees me everywhere is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. So that's where we want to go. We want to go to this place where we can't but see Krishna everywhere we go. We see him everywhere. That's what we want. That's our goal. Okay, so if anyone wants to add something or say something else.
Okay, Prabhu, if you can just hold on a minute. Now I've taken the mute off, so anybody can unmute themselves now if they'd like to add anything. I was just going to say, beautiful picture. Really gives you good imagery of Krishna's universal form. It's quite nice.
Yeah, I was having fun doing this.
Very nice, Vidagdhaji. Really, those photographs really help to kind of see the beauty of Krishna everywhere, the glory and the power. But I'll ask a question then, which is often helpful to contemplate. You showed amazingly beautiful things, powerful things, but what about when we see very ghastly, almost unthinkable things? How do we see Krishna? We go to a third world country, there's people, droughts, and people starving to death, and
yeah, it's an interesting point. There is a flip side, there's a negative side, but the suffering of this world is connected with, the misconceiving it, karma. A lot of people, for example, are, up in arms about abortion, right? And it's a horrible thing. And I remember one of the devotees published a small booklet, and on the cover was a stainless steel pail in some operating room in some abortion clinic or some hospital, and there were fully formed fetuses thrown in the pail. And people were like recoiling from that. I mean, they were, but, and then there's devotees in L.A. At one point that had a storefront, and they were stopping people on the street, and they were inviting them to come in to see some footage of a slaughterhouse, people don't want to know, what they're doing wrong, and they're paying the price, so, this world, it's a place, it's not a place to linger. This is not, they have those signs, no loitering. Yeah, this is not a place to hang out, or to try to establish yourself. This is a place to get, to leave, unless it is your assigned service to help others get out. And then, it's like the medic or the firefighter saving somebody from the fire, so then you have you're in the spiritual world. You're here doing nothing but what Krishna wants you to do. But yeah, the world, the negative things are karmic, and the abortion example, for example, the doctors, that have lost their humanity, that are somehow, they've lost their conscience, and they're doing these horrific, they're killing infants or babies, defenseless babies. The karma for that is they're going to have to go through that experience themselves, not once, but as many times as they've done it. So some of these abortions are previous doctors that are serving out their karma. So, Prabhupada said, I was really trying to listen to this, and even Vishnu Janaswami, he said at one point, his question was, is it, that Krishna, we should try to see Krishna everywhere? And so Prabhupada said, Vishnu Janaswami asked the question, well, is it by association or vision? And then Prabhupada came back really sharply, and he says, no, it's a fact. And he said, you see a kitten, let's say you see a kitten, you don't, embrace the kitten and you say, oh, this is Krishna, you get a soft fur against your cheek, and, oh, this is Krishna. No, you see a living entity that by some history has found his way into that body. And so you take compassion on that living entity and you try to give him some prasadam. So this is the life in that cat. I remember there was an artist in France, many years ago I heard this, and he was, he was a museum quality classical artist, and he had paintings on exhibit in the Louvre, or, wherever, the big museums there. And somebody asked him if he was in a burning house and there were priceless masterpieces on the wall, like paintings, and there was a kitten, and he had a choice. He could only save one or the other. What would he do? And he said he would save the kitten, because there is nothing more precious than life. So you see, the life and the living beings, that's what's attracting us. That's even what attracts a man to a woman, or a woman to a man. There's some spark of life, some glowing going on, with the body. And so this is, so we link that up with Krishna. The life that we see in everyone is part of Krishna. Does that help? And the ghastly business, there is a ghastly rasa. On the battlefield, people are losing limbs, and in the Kurukshetra battlefield, people are, they're getting damaged. They're losing body parts. They're getting killed. It's ghastly, but the Kshatriyas, that doesn't bother them. Prabhupada, he was saying that after Gandhi drove the British out of India, they lost everything. The Suez Canal, everything just, went down like dominoes. partly because they were employing the Sikhs and the Gorkhas from Nepal as, that was their police, or that was how they were policing things, or, that's how they were managing things. They had real Kshatriyas in positions to keep things in order. And when they lost India, they lost the Sikhs and the Gorkhas. And the whole thing started to unravel. So Prabhupada said, in America, they don't, they just recruit these, low-income kids. The target of military recruiting is, they have disadvantaged low-income families, both black and white, and they don't have any prospect out of high school. They're not going to college. Their only prospect is like a minimum wage job at some fast food place or something. And so they entice them into the military. They say you'll get education at the end of it. You'll get the GI Bill. We'll pay for your education. Blah blah blah. And they get these guys over in war zones, killing, and getting killed, and getting blown up in Humvees and stuff. And these kids come back without their foot, their leg, they're damaged for life. And psychologically, a lot of veterans in America, I couldn't believe the statistic, every 22 minutes a vet commits suicide. And so part of that is they're not Kshatriyas, they're Sudras that were trained into that, and so psychologically they broke down, after they went through some of those experiences. The Kshatriyas, they're steeled, they've seen people get killed, they can tolerate that. So certain ghastly things, they're not meant for Brahmins or, Sudras, and, they're meant for Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas, they don't wilt at the sight of blood, or, but there is a lot of suffering. And so, here's the bottom line. Yes, when we see ghastly things like abject poverty, people suffering like anything, it should be impetus for us to get ourselves together to somehow reach these people with Krishna consciousness. If at all possible, we'll try to turn them towards Krishna. And, that's what drives a lot of preachers. They have compassion on suffering souls. Does that work?
That's nice. That's kind of what I was thinking. That even more specifically, that when we see these very tragic things, that we see it as Krishna's love. The parent will say, "This hurts me more than it hurts you," and it spanks a child. And Krishna's just trying to spank us back into, those that aren't on the path or done things karmically wrong. We have to see Krishna's love and the perfection and all the. So some people say, if there's a God, why do we see so many imperfections in the world? But we actually see the imperfections as perfections. And if we go to some third world country and see these horrible things going on, a devotee actually sees Krishna's kindness and Krishna's hand, even though it seems so ghastly, just like in a doctor's office to a child who doesn't understand, and the doctor's cutting open some terrible festering wound. To the child that doesn't really understand things, "Oh my God, this is awful, I'm coming here, they're torturing me, they're cutting me, they're squeezing, it's hurting like crazy." But someone the adult with higher vision understands the kindness of the doctor, that he's actually, this is going to end the pain ultimately. And by these things that we see, we as devotees, of course, we understand it. It is all Krishna's hand, and it's all part of Krishna's kindness in order to do the needful, so that every living being will ultimately become frustrated in this world and go back to Godhead.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's correct. This world is for rectification, and that's why people are so confused. They're thinking, this world is for my enjoyment. God made this world for my enjoyment, I mean, hello. I don't think so. He made it for your rectification. It's not like, you know, he doesn't want you to enjoy, but it's not going to be here. It's not going to be separate from him. So the more you try to do something separate from him, the more you're going to suffer.
Another angle that I remembered was Prabhupada was asked a similar question, and since we're in a universal form would fit right in, he would say that it's the backside of God. Just like he would say, how does the sun create darkness? So he says, how is it that darkness is related to the sun? He says it's its absence. So when you have the absence of Krishna, you have all these ghastly things. That's just another angle. Like he said, why do bad things happen to good people? And he was giving the idea of just like the sun creates darkness by its absence, so the bad things are created by the absence of Krishna.
Right. In Super Soul, like Prabhupada quoted Gandhi. He was fond of this one soundbite of Gandhi, not a blade of grass moves, you know, and you can get in trouble with that, you know, if somebody's not ready for the entire conception of Krishna consciousness. But, you know, it appears to some people that God is cruel. That's what, you know, and people blame God, you know, but it's actually, everyone has to take responsibility for their own suffering. We're bringing the suffering onto ourselves. And that, the same condition is to accept that and do something about it.
I have a question.
Sure.
We are going over though. But anyway, can we go back to text 35?
Yeah, you want me to go to the front end of this?
Well, just I was going to say that the first half of the verse I can understand that, you know, the mahat-tattva, the cosmic manifestation is representation of the Lord's consciousness in the universal form. And just like we, you know, put a pinprick in any part of our body, we can feel it for the Lord's consciousness all over the universe. Rudra the same, he's the one who gives us a false ego, so it represents the false ego. But the horses and the mules, I know you had a picture there of that. I don't exactly understand how that would relate to the nails of the Lord and then also all the quadrupeds being his belt. Maybe you can say something more to help me understand.
You know, it's exotic. It's beyond my reach. You know, this may mean something to some people. Some things I just leave alone. You know, I just did what I could with that. You know, the nails. It's again a conception. It's not a real cohesive form. You know, the outer space or his you know, his eyes, the orbital pits or something. You know, you just can't put a cohesive form together exactly. You know, it'd be nice. Sometimes you just can't make a painting out of it, you know. But so I gravitate towards things I can relate to, and I let other things go. That's kind of what I do. I'm not you know, but I did, you know, I saw the nails of the you know, the elephant has kind of interesting nails. You know, those are interesting. We also have nails, but it just reminds, you know, that all the horse, the mule, the camel, the elephant, they have this same kind of, you know, cartilage on their feet. It's like a nail. That's the best I can do.
Okay.
Like, we might wrap it up, huh? Okay?
Anybody else have anything they want to add? Beautiful presentation for both.
Very nice class. I agree, by the way, I agree with Vidagdha. You just can't get too detailed and specific on trying to nail down how this represents that and what this is and that is. It's pretty exotic. Yeah.
Well, it helps. I think I've mentioned before, when I was a brand new devotee, I took I flew in a plane back to visit my parents. It's probably not even a year as a devotee. I don't remember, but anyway, early. And when I was flying, looking down, I really had a feeling that the clouds are the hairs of the Lord, and then when you fly over the mountains, you really feel like they're the bones of the Lord, and the veins are all the rivers. It's just like, my hairs were standing in horripilation, standing on end, just thinking about it. So, I don't want to split hairs on it, so to speak.
Yeah,
but it is good to try and understand as well as we can, how it relates.
Right. Yeah,
so,
if it works, that's why it's being presented. This will work for some people. It's not meant for, he's not just wasting time here. He's presenting this for some people will get something from this. And, and some of us are attracted to some part of it, and some of us may be attracted to some other part of it. And it's a helpful thing to link things up with Krishna. And so you even being reminded, you see a horse, and you're reminded of that verse, or you see a camel or an elephant, and reminded of the verse. And that links you with Bhagavatam, links you to Krishna.
It's interesting how some people really can relate to certain ones. It seems like all of us really focus on the sun and the moon as being the eyes, and the mountains as being the bones, and the trees as being the hair. But some of us have difficulty with others of the descriptions, and maybe someone in some other part of the world, in some other culture, may relate to others more than us. It was real easy for Ramananda to see as he was flying in the airplane, looking down and seeing so clearly the hairs on the head. But maybe someone who lived in a city his whole life and never saw a lot of trees and may not relate to that one as well as someone who's seen a lot of beautiful country.
I wanted to offer a philosophical speculation, since there's no purport given here. What about the horse, the mule, the camel, and the elephant? What do they have in common? They're beasts of burden. They carry heavy loads. So you think about our nails that we have on our body. They're hard, and they're meant for manipulating things. Hard to get to things. So I was thinking that these beasts of burden the same way. When you need some extra hard work done, you need one of these animals. Anyway, whatever helps us to remember the universal form will be helpful.
Whatever helps us to remember Krishna. The universal form is one aspect. But at different stages, you may be drawn, like that prayer by Madhavendra Puri. He's begging off. He was doing prayers to the demigods or the directions or something, and he's begging off because now he's like Satya. What's his name? Satyarata Muni that wrote the Damodar prayers. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want to. He's not interested in the universal form. He just wants to see that, that form of Krishna, with the bimba fruit lips and the the curly black hair and tinged with red, and he wants to see that, that's the benediction he wants. That's his meditation. And so at different stages, it'll be different for different people. So there's the holy name. It starts with the form, and then it moves to the quality. I thought of recently, Vedant might appreciate this. If you want to get into the qualities of Krishna, get into his different names, Bhakti Vatsal, Jasoda Nandan, their pictures, and their qualities also. So there's many different names of Krishna according to what he does and what he's like. And so you can think of those. So you got the form, Rup, Guna Lila, Nam, Rup, Guna Lila. So you have the form, the qualities, and then the pastimes. Right? So at different stages, you may be drawn to something. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, like I said, it was getting late. I was just going to say, but this is extremely important because this is the first step in God realization. And when a materialistic person says there's no proof of God, show me God, this is how you can show people God.
Right.
In the cosmic manifestation.
Yeah, and primitives also relate. It's everybody worships God in their own way, or many different kinds, civilized, uncivilized, primitive, and a lot of primitives, they get into the sun, as being the powerful, giver of life, and so they start worshiping the sun. But as you get more sophisticated in the cultures like India, it becomes, you start to get all the details of demigods and Vishnu, and Krishna is the original Vishnu, and all this. So, yeah, in the beginning, somebody can be directed like this, and that's stated in the purports. It's for people trying to, either cross over from an impersonal idea, pantheism or whatever, to a personal form. That's what this is for, is to try to get people onto that there's a person behind everything. Supreme person.
I think it also elicits humility when we see very powerful things, as you were saying, Vidagdhaji, is so true, that so many primitive cultures, they see God through nature. It's very humbling when you're seeing some really focusing on the power of the sun and the moon and all the stellar bodies and the wind and fire. It makes us feel humble, and that's a really important quality for one to advance in spiritual life. This is where everyone is so puffed up. When you're with that puffed up false ego, we're not going anywhere. And so meditating in this way upon the power of nature is definitely humbling.
Yeah, and the beauty, just the beauty of the creation, like these birds. How could anybody think they just evolved from some mud? They came out of the mud? Are you out of your mind? These evolutionists, they become the biggest dogmatic people on the planet now. They just won't let go of it because they have an agenda. They want to be atheists. They want to create a world without God, but it's just in their face. Anybody that has the eyes to see, or can see that there's no question. There's intelligence behind the creation, and it's something extraordinary, not ordinary. Something way beyond anybody's capacity is going on here.
Well said.
Okay. Thank you, Vidagdha Prabhu, and thank you for everybody who's online. We had a total of about 2 devotees. You have left, so I think now it's time to end. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
All
Hare
glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
People, thank you.
Hare Krishna.